वो उसने साइलेंट करके देखो तो बाबा ने तो बाबा ने कैसा ही रहा जिंदगी में चल के रहे जिंदगी में चल के रहे प्यार में इतना तुझे Except position value record करें हम भी जाने लेकिन record करें first time cuma tadi ada tuh
Kudu.
Anche se non lo buttare molto bene. Guys, doctor, what's the but so quickly. Update here. Thank you for update. Second one, hello. Audio.
Mama ko begi ke ye karna bole. Mama ko begi sarana bole. Chichi rakita bole. सब जाने sarana bole re.
हाँ है कोची और ये वीडियो में जी किले
Ye da re
Sir, now it's in Facebook Live, sir. We can start, sir. Hello.
Okay, Balaji sir.
Sir.
I'm ready.
Okay, sir. Madam Mugil will start now.
Okay.
In few minutes.
Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
To start the thing, then we will discuss. Facebook வந்துருச்சுன்னு எனக்கு எவ்வளோ பேர் வராங்கன்னு தெரியும்.
Hello. Hello.
Sir, since live is changed now, she is just sending to all the groups. The people
Okay,
are start joining. Give me 5 minutes.
Okay.
I wish you all a happy morning. Live and let live is the basic philosophy of Jainism. Live to learn and learn to live and lead is the concept which we adopt in our institution. On behalf of Sri Chandraprabhu Jain family, I'm Ms. K. Mugil, Head Department of English, deem it a great pleasure in welcoming all for the national webinar on the importance of eco-criticism in literature. My warm greetings to our Secretary Sri Lalit Kumar Ojain, our guiding star advisor Dr. D. Amachan, our Principal Dr. V. Nagajoti, and Vice Principal Dr. N. Sujata for their undaunted support in endeavoring the academic excellence of our college, which influenced us to organize this national webinar. I extend a warm welcome to a resource person of today's session, Dr. Gagana Bihari Purohit, Associate Professor of English, R&J College, Jura. Sir, we're really honored to have your presence on this special day and grateful for accepting our invitation in a short notice. I'm glad to welcome the academicians and students from the various disciplines across the nation. Wishing all to have a good day. Thank you. It's my privilege to introduce the star of the session, our resource person, Dr. Gagana Bihari Purohit, a recipient of doctorate degree, who has done his research on Indian literature in the year 2050 from the University of Berhampur entitled Minor Indigenous Poetry. He began his career as a lecturer in English at R&J College, Dura in the year 1992 and was further designated as associate professor in same college. He has published a book entitled Tracing Roots of Indigenous Poetry in English, the post-colonial collection in the year 2018. His research articles are 11 in number and has been published in the peer review journals. He has done 4 book chapters and has attended 30 national and international seminars and has presented 22 papers. A resource person is a multifaceted personality who has a rich professional experience, can see him as a great short story writer and a poet who has touched almost all the journals of literature. He has done a book review in Muse India and Kavya Bharati Criterion. He has also translated the story called Hunting, originally written in Odia. His commitment towards service involved himself as NSS program officer in his institution. Apart from his professional attitude, I would like to place a record at this moment. Is a down-to-earth person who has been very kind when we approached him regarding this seminar. Moreover, he has shown his readiness to do one more webinar with us in future. Thank you, sir, for joining with us today. Over to our principal, Dr. V. Nagajoti, to present the inaugural address.
The respected the chief speaker of the day. Good morning to all of you. Respected Vice Principal ma'am, respected head of the department, and respected Mr. Balaji, systems engineer, and respected all the leaders, those who are being this. And it gives immense pleasure to me on behalf of our Sri Chandraprabhu Jain College, and on behalf of our management, and on behalf of our secretary sir, on behalf of our advisor sir, and on behalf of our vice principal ma'am, I cordially welcome Dr. Gagana Bihari Purohit for this wonderful seminar. And it gives immense pleasure to me in introducing sir. And the sir is kind enough to accept our offer, and he has joined us with us today to address about the eco-criticism in English literature. Because today the environment plays very important role, and in this environment, we have to ensure that in what way that we are protecting this. And the sir is going to explain, what are the areas that covers in English literature pertaining to this eco-criticism. And he is a very good scholar, and he is going to explain out to all of us about the implications of this environment and what has been given in English literature. So over to our guest speaker today, to Dr. Gagana Bihari Purohit. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
In every walk in with nature, one receives far more than he seeks. I'm sure our resource person will take us to seek the goodness of nature in literature on the topic, the importance of eco-criticism in literature. Over to our resource person.
Sir.
Thank you, madam. Can you hear me, madam?
Yes, sir, I can, sir.
Yeah. At the outset, I would like to thank the college authorities, Sri Chandraprabhu Jain College, the principal, Professor Nagajoti, vice principal, and Madam HOD Madam Mugli, Kalamani. I extend a hearty thanks to all of you, to even our Balaji sir. If I don't thank him, it would be incomplete, because he has put so many things. And last but not least, I would like to thank the college authorities for their arrangement of this function or webinar. Okay, so before can I start right now, madam? Mugli madam, can you hear me? Hello, hello, Mugli madam.
Sir, I could
Hello.
hear you, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm here, sir.
For how many minutes I will continue? Please tell me.
As you wish. 1 hour, as you wish, sir.
Okay, no problem. So, as the Thanksgiving ceremony is a formal one, and I thank one and all for inviting me to this webinar. Actually, we have been late by, say, some 1 hour, and we know what is the problem. And this itself tells us about, or sets the right tone for the webinar, because nature never deserts us, but technology can. So that is the problem right now, and thankfully we have overcome this problem, and we will try to concentrate on our topic of today, eco-criticism in literature. Actually, this is a very vast term, and when we want to concentrate on such a topic, this is a burning topic right now, because we have been in a lockdown position for say 3 months and together, and here I would like to tell you. I would like to begin the proceedings with an anecdotal saying how when we climb a tree, when we climb up a tree, we can move up to the top. But before we go any farther, we have to climb down. Either we have to climb down or we have to fall down. So these are the two extreme options for us now. And this option, or this anecdotal saying, holds true for today's webinar and today's society, today's environment, today's ecology. As I have already set the target of today's seminar, that is man-nature relationship, and Madam has already introduced us. So man and nature are one and inseparable. We cannot separate one from the other. But because of man's anthropocentric activities, man has become ecological refugees of his own making. And this is the problem that we are facing today. And when we know about something, when we know about the problem, we try to solve the problem with our knowledge and experience. But here we know about the problem, but we don't have any solution at hand. So we are aware about the climate crisis. We are aware about the water shortage. We are aware about the plastic garbage, everything. But the problem is that we don't have the courage to face the problem, and we don't have the solution at hand. So we have to act on a war footing for such a mishap, or to overcome such a mishap. And we have to get away from paying lip service to the issue of environment or ecology today, we have to really work hard in order to take the humanity out of this impasse that we have made ourselves today. Now, there are two cultures. One is your eco-culture, that is the need of the hour today, and the ego culture that humanity or anthropocentric interests have. So we have to move from ego culture to eco culture. Otherwise, there is the doom engineering, and we cannot get away from this doom or the near death that situation we have arrived in our lives. We are in conflict with our own nature. Human beings, have so many conflicts within, and it's very difficult to understand a human mind. And when our conflict with the nature comes, we are also in conflict with nature at large. So, what you have to do to overcome this problem is to be aware about the situation, and at the same time to make or to have to work hard in order to do something real. The problem with the academics, as we all are academicians of high caliber, the problem with all of us is to read theory, and we don't have any practical knowledge, or we don't practice what we say. That's the problem today. But in case of ecological problems, we have to act hard in order to overcome the problems that we are facing today concerning our ecology and environment. Um, Need has come. Our earlier, what we want to have, what we had is the need, and we fulfilled our needs, drawing upon nature. But today, those needs are being replaced by want, pleasure, desire, and greed. That has become the problem. And now man can ill afford to exclude nature from ecology or from the mainstream, which man has been doing till now. And I would like to quote from a quotation from the Gita concerning how nature or connection between man and nature is very important for the well-being of the society. Here, he talks about the essential oneness of oneness of principles. Everything is connected to everything else. So Gandhi had also said this. He said, I quote, wildlife is decreasing in jungles, but it is increasing in the towns, unquote. So such a kind of thinking, even if Gandhiji was not environmentalist in today's terms, but unknowingly he has pronounced so many things like the moon broth and um, say his fasting. All these things made him strong in mind, and all these things are associated with environmentalism, because when we eat much, we have to depend upon other sources, even natural sources. So we can limit our needs, unwanted needs, in order to just have a kind of respite for nature that we need today. And actually, what we have done is we have to blame for ourselves, and nobody else can take the blame. We have been behaving stupidly. We have been Our vision has been short-sighted, and we have become egoistic in our dealings with nature. And now, how long can Earth remain silent? When it acts with a bang. And because there is always a warning from nature when a drought comes, when a flood comes, and Chennai has been suffering from, or still it has not recovered properly from the recent floods, or maybe floods of some years back. And you know about the water shortage in Chennai more than me. And all these things tell us about how we have placed demands for our needs on nature, and how long it will continue, and how long nature will keep on giving things to us. That is the vital question now. So here, the food for thought is man is a virus from Earth's point of view, or from nature's point of view, and mankind is the cancer that affecting the planet Earth now. And we have to remove the cancer. You know, cancer, curing cancer is a difficult task altogether. And the sooner we cure from this cancer, mankind will be better in future. Otherwise, the doom is there. So the problem is our great acceleration. How we within quotes great acceleration. This great acceleration within the last 30 years has put immense pressure on nature and environment, and we know all these things, and still today we are not doing anything for containing all these accelerated things. And this COVID-19 situation has placed us, has locked down everything a bit, and being a temporary pandemic. I would repeat the term temporary pandemic because it has not affected the whole world as you would have liked it to be, but the temporary pandemic has given nature some respite. But think about the permanent pandemic, the climate crisis, the water shortage, all these things. If we cannot think now, it will be a never situation for us in future or in near future. So that is why we have to act. We cannot say any longer, because we have been saying these things in seminars and webinars, all these things. But time has come to act, and act strictly, sternly, in order to put a checkmate for this natural impasse, or the impasse of nature that we have been facing now. And here, what happens is mankind has caught inadvertently in a spiraling cycle of acceleration. And that is the saying by Amitabh Ghosh in a recent interview that was there in your Hindu for 26th April, perhaps, if I remember correctly. So we have to put a rethinking about how to control, or how to put a checkmate to the losses that nature has incurred for mankind. That is why we have to do it is high time mankind has to realize the problem that we are facing today. Otherwise, we are heading for a near extinction, or maybe the full we will be extincted or wiped out from the earth right now. So, with this kind of introduction, I would like to move to my mode, that is PowerPoint mode. There, I will give you what is the eco-criticism, and what is the practice that we have. There, I will introduce you briefly about the developments of eco-criticism, and then I will try to analyze the praxis, or the through 2 points. One is by Robert Frost, the well-known poem "Stopping by Snowy Woods," and the other is your Sita, a poem by Professor Nandini Sahu, and I hope you will now. I will try to share this screen of my PowerPoint with you. Mm. So there we come to our topic, today's topic, importance of eco-criticism in literature. So eco-criticism looks forward to foregrounding a hand-and-glove relationship between man and nature. Both human and non-human worlds are brought out together in harmony. So this harmony is very important. This proximity between man and nature is important. And here I would like to cite the theory of pathetic fallacy by John Ruskin in his essay Modern Painting. John Ruskin's theory of pathetic fallacy presupposes such a harmony when nature is seen as a sympathizer of man at the time of crisis. So whenever man faced problems, he turned to nature to get solace. And you know about Wordsworth, you know about all these romantic people who have turned to nature in order to get solace and in order to get away from the wrath of the society. And then the problem started. What is the problem here is eco-criticism is alone to left. It is left to fend for itself. No one, no criticism, no school of criticism helps to eco-criticism in order to flourish. So that's why eco-criticism is left to fend for itself. The second slide. Various schools of criticism, from structuralism onwards, excludes eco-criticism as a non-starter. We have so many schools of criticism from structuralism and Marxism, all them, and you have new historicism, you have colonialism, post-colonialism, post-structuralism, all these schools of criticism doesn't mention anything about nature or ecology. That's why when J. Hillis Miller in his MLA presidential address in 1986 has observed about the interdisciplinarity of literary theory, it surprisingly excluded eco-criticism. And I'm putting Hillis Miller here. Quote, literary study in the past few years has undergone a sudden, almost a universal turn away from theory in the sense of an orientation toward language and as such, and has a mode of corresponding truth turn toward history, culture, society, politics, institution, class, and gender conditions, the social context, the material ways, unquote. Here, what we get is we have the inclusion of cultural theory, post-colonial theory, new historicism, and all these things, even feminism, but we don't have eco-criticism here. Surprisingly, he excludes that. Then we come to another critic of repute, Peter Berry, who sums up the inadequacy of post theory succinctly. Literary theory moves not from pillar to post, but from post to post. Post-structuralism, post-modernism, post-colonialism, and the rest. But the post to end all posts is the widespread belief that we have been in the era of post-theory for more than a decade now. Is the life after theory? This is the vital question now. So when we think about these theories, and they have been changing, but the problem here is post-theory and after theory. These two terms began to haunt critics all over the world, and what we get here is the problem of continuation of theory. And in the next slide, we'll talk about that, how theory or after theory is self-contradictory. That is self-contradictory after theory. After theory is considered as a self-contradiction, just like life after death. We cannot anticipate death and life at the same time. That means this is a philosophical question. When we think about death, we cannot think about life again. So this left and death life dichotomy, or life after death continuity, is a philosophical one, which is quite blank in ordinary eyes. So likewise, the ongoing process of looking into subtle angles of theory, we cannot reach at the conclusion and the saturation instantly. That means when we think about theory, we have to reach at the conclusion. We have to reach at the findings properly. But when we think about the saturation, or without thinking about the conclusion, you cannot go ahead. So that is why the after theory, or the some self-contradiction in after theory. Changes in theory does not mean that the theory is dead. So because after theory has come, we cannot say that theory is dead now. So when eco-criticism comes after that, after theory, we have eco-criticism. This eco-criticism tells us about, again, the beginning of another theory. So after theory, or after theory comes again another theory, that is eco-criticism. So American critic William Rooker coined this term, eco-criticism, in 1978. But formation of the Association of the Study of Literature and Environment, ASLE, in 1992, is seen to be the beginning of eco-criticism in literature. So this association is vital as far as eco-criticism is concerned, and we have to move ahead with eco-criticism, and how it is connected with the literature and your life, and in how nature and things connected with nature are present in the things, or in works of art or literature. That is the point of discussion today. Then we come to the definition given by Richard Carey in a perceptive article, Environmentalism and Eco-criticism. He gives a concise definition of eco-criticism. Quote, eco-criticism is a literary and cultural criticism from an environmentalist viewpoint. Texts are evaluated in terms of their environmentally harmful or helpful effects. Beliefs and ideologies are accessed for their environmental implications, unquote. So here, eco-criticism, the agenda of eco-criticism is clear, and how literary and cultural criticism have been discussed from environmentalist or environmental needs, and how critics have begun to see the texts or works of art from the nature's point of view, and that is central to eco-criticism. Then comes the problem, anthropocentrism and eco-criticism. So when we talk about anthropocentrism, it undoubtedly places man at the center, and there is always a war between man and nature for existence, and we know better than anyone else about this dichotomy or about this paradigm. While anthropocentrism considers the centrality of man, eco-criticism brings ecology into the purview of literature. So one considers one theory or one um, concept gives importance to man at the center, while eco-criticism places underlying stress on ecology or the literature in relation to ecology. So, eco-criticism by Gerard and eco-criticism reader, landmarks in literary ecology, edited by Cheryl Godfrey and Harold Fromm, are seminal eco-critical texts. So here we get before these two texts, eco-criticism and eco-criticism reader, landmarks in literary ecology. We didn't have any academic books. We have bits and bits articles here and there about eco-criticism. But now, what is the problem is it started as an academic discipline, and it helped people how to know more and more about eco-criticism, or know more and more about nature, and how we can just accommodate nature in our day-to-day life. That is the solution from this analysis here. Then eco-criticism considers nature and culture as a continuous, not discrete. Here is the vital point, or the important point, significant point, where eco-criticism considers nature and culture as continuous. In general practice, what happens is, whenever man is there, he places his interests first, overlooking other species' interests, or they play the second fiddle here. But eco-criticism just the opposite. They say, the eco-critics say that nature and culture are continuous and not discrete. You cannot make a divide between nature and culture if you, which is the practice right now. For our well-being, for our existence, we ignore nature. But the problem is, if you are ignoring nature, we are ignoring nature at the expense of our peril. This is the problem right now. We are facing the problem. Now, Goldfeldy argues that nature and culture don't exclude each other, but be entangled with each other in multiple ways. So, this is the right kind of argument that Goldfeldy gives us. Nature and culture don't exclude each other. Here is the same thing. And there is a kind of continuity between nature and culture, and we have multiple relationships between man and nature, because man represents culture here, and nature is nature as such. So this is what Lord Pelty has argued. Then comes Jonathan Bates. His book Romantic Ecology considers eco-criticism as a theory distinct from Marxism and New Historicism, as the latter two do not treat nature sympathetically. So, what is the important here is how eco-criticism is an excluded category that we have argued at the outset, right at the beginning. What is happening here is, Marxism and New Historicism are two important schools of criticism, as you all know, but they do not treat nature sympathetically, because for them class is important, for them money is important, not mind, not heart, or not the natural atmosphere. That is why they don't think about nature in a sympathetic way. Jonathan Bate is the first person, first British critic rather, to consider eco-criticism as a distinct theory. Then we come to the next slide. Two important canons of eco-criticism. Now, what are the two important aspects, two important features of criticism? Criticism will look at that now. They need for growth of eco-literature in response to environmental crises, writings that focuses on green issues. We have a underlying need now that we are environmental crises are before us, and we have to focus on green issues right now. The second important move is rereading of existing body of literature in terms of ecological issues, which seems to be very important and practically viable. So here, the second aspect or the second feature of eco-criticism is very, very important, because we must have a kind of rereading or kind of rethinking of ecology or literature in terms of ecology, because reading literature alone is not beneficial to humankind, because we know that literature has the capacity or moving capacity to solve our day-to-day problems. Man can be better by reading literature. Man can learn better. Man can think better. Man can realize better. Man can learn lessons of life from literature. But here is a literature which does not consider the underlying problem of man, that is the problem of environmental crisis or climate change, water scarcity, all these things, or acute shortage of water, all these things are coming up. And if we are deaf about the problems that we are facing today, if our literature doesn't address the problems that we are facing today, then unfortunately, and I am afraid, we cannot do anything, or literature cannot help us overcome our problems. Then it's not literature at all. That's why the need of rethinking or rereading of text in terms of literature, in terms of ecology, in terms of environment, and in terms of the problems that are being faced today. Then eco-criticism is also closer to ecofeminism, as both nature and women are victims of patriarchy. Nature and women suffer from harsh treatment caused by men. So here we come to another segment, important segment that eco-criticism has, that is ecofeminism. And the second poem that I will analyze in the course of this talk is about the eco-criticism in the poem Sita by Professor Nandini Sahu. So both are victims, women and nature, both are victims of this patriarchal treatment or harsh treatment of patriarchy, and we have to overcome all the problems right now. Or even women, even if they are independent to a certain extent now, they are still facing the wrath of society and patriarchy, and we have honor killings still today, and we have all these things, increasing number of atrocities being unleashed upon women now. So this eco-criticism is also extends a hand of help for ecofeminism, and we will also discuss about that in the poem Sita by Nandini Sahu. Nature, then comes nature, ecology, and environment. They work as a guardian angel of man in respect of everything. This is very, very important in today's context. If we don't consider these as our well-wishers, these elements as our well-wishers or permanent companions, then we are perhaps missing the point altogether. That is why we need literature, and we need nature, we need ecology, we need environment to go side by side with our life. That is very, very important now. And Studying literature in terms of ecological considerations seems to be imperative. Seen from the angle of man-nature harmony, this man-nature harmony is a very vital in the present context of environmental crisis or climate change, because whenever we think about man-nature harmony, our interests come first, and we have to limit our interests. We have to limit our needs so that our demands, our interests, our greed should be there at the level of need only. If it comes to the level of desire, if it comes to the level of want, if it comes to the level of greed, then we are committing sins upon nature, and from which there is no respite, immediate or long term. Nature can do away with man, but now man cannot. So this is also very important. When man says that he is the supreme creature in this world, yes, no, we have to admit that. But without the help of others, you can look at the wildlife, you can look at the um, wild creatures. When an animal borns, within seconds it becomes self-sufficient. Um, you know, you cannot just run after a deer who is born afresh. After some time of its birth, we cannot run after a deer. So this wild animal or the deer, which has running as its force or weapon, it uses from the very beginning. But look at the dependency of human beings, how we depend upon our parents, how we depend upon our society, how we depend upon our parents, friends, and now that we are locked here because of this COVID-19 situation, we sometimes we feel that we are depressed, we are depression comes on to us. All these things are happening to human beings, but not to wildlife. They are pretty happy with whatever situation is there outside. And an interesting thing is that whenever we look with the stoppage of horns from the vehicles flying across the cities, what we see is the songs of cuckoos, the sounds of birds, your sparrows, all the things. So this is the kind of thing that we have to think about, and that is why nature can manage without man, but man cannot manage without nature. So textual considerations apart, eco-criticism concentrates on ecological considerations in relation to man. Textual considerations is there, but there are some practical considerations also, as we have been discussing a moment ago. These are the ecological considerations that helps man to develop a kind of empathy for nature, for the all species of other species of nature, and that is for man's help, not for the nature's help. That we have to consider eco-criticism not in terms of literature, but in terms of reality. Reality is what pricks to our conscience today, because reality that we face today is out of our control. And if we cannot just limit our needs right now, it may be too late after some time. Now, with that, we will come to the next slide, and this is the academic accomplishments which have limited vision, and our previous discussion leads us to this slide where we come to think about literature which has limited knowledge of the outside world, because we know about a lot about theory, we know a lot about books, we know a lot about what happens in the pages of the text, But when we come to work in the fields, or when we come to know about the practical reality of life, we have limitations. We are dreamers. We cannot go to the field and work. That is the problem. That is the gap. What we think and what we do are a few and far between. That is the problem that grapples in India in each and every respect, in each and every field. And scholars and the intelligentsia only thinks about the literature or how the things are working in the books. But when it comes to reality, it is few and far between. That is why scholarship usually addresses contemporary issues, but not so in case of eco-criticism. When we think about scholarship or other literary theories, what is happening in theory, or what is happening in contemporary society? Other theories used to address those issues. But in case of eco-criticism, that becomes a problem, because here, when we think about wildlife, when we think about climate change, when we think about your water shortage, all the things, these are the things that eco-criticism is concerned with. But the problem is, take the example, for example, take the case of water. We don't hesitate to misuse water, and we don't think about others' need. We think about our only need that should be fulfilled, and we think about we are apathetic or we are indifferent about others' need. That takes us to the endangered earth, which receives little attention here. So, in case of eco-criticism, what is the fallout here is man is totally aware about the endangered earth. Improving the condition of earth, or the condition of ecology, the condition of environment. So that becomes the problem. And here I would like to quote the ASLE's mission in order to tell us about what is the problem, or what is the problem at hand, and what is the solution that we must follow. Quote, to promote the exchange of ideas and information pertaining to literature that considers the relationship between human beings and the natural world, unquote. And to initiate a new nature writing, traditional and innovative scholarly approaches to environmental literature and interdisciplinary environmental research. So, in a nutshell, it speaks about everything that eco-criticism should have. To promote the exchange of ideas and information pertaining to literature that considers the relationship between human beings and the natural world. The relationship, I don't think about the theoretical relationship here. I think about the practical relationship, how we deal with our water supply, how we deal with our garbage take, how we deal with our plastic use, how we deal with our natural environment. All these things are very, very important. Then reading things and remaining silent. Then to initiate new nature writing. So nowadays, nature writings are rewritten from the point of view of our practical need or practical relationship between man and nature, and how to just be one with wildlife, how to tolerate the problems that we are facing, or the problems that we are facing from our wildlife. So we have to develop a compassionate feeling. We have to develop a generous feeling towards our wildlife, towards our environment, towards our ecology. Not because we are generous, but because we need them. Rather, they are generous to us, and we have to materialize their generosity in our life. Otherwise, in future, we will inviting problems for ourselves and for our generations, and which is known to everybody present over here. And then comes to the innovative scholarly approaches to environmental literature. What is innovation after all? If you think about innovation, one thing that is clear is which is new, which is original, which actually relates the present context. That is, in my mind, or to my mind, this is innovation par excellence. If our literature or if eco literature cannot address our problems and cannot today, then it is no eco literature at all. That is why we have to put new insights. We have to put fresh innovation into eco literature, or we have writers and intellectuals must write from the point of view of this innovation, from the point of view of this fresh impetus, which will help the general public or the general people to be more aware about ecology, to be more active in containing the ecological disorder right now, which humanity faces at any cost. Then interdisciplinary environmental research. So this is a very important again. Interdisciplinary environmental research tells us about the relationship between science and literature, relationship between science and other fields of knowledge, history, biography, and even politics, your economy. All these things should be analyzed from the point of view of environment. So this is the need of today that we are having. And then comes the emergence of eco-criticism as a strong academic discipline, with large number of scholars opting the discipline with fresh importance. So this is important here. Eco-criticism as a discipline has attracted many number of scholars all over the world, and we can have scholars who are working in the field, it's a very challenging job, because whenever one goes to a forest to analyze the behavior of a plant, the behavior of a tree, you have to face a lot of problems. So that's definitely a challenge for a scholar, young scholar. Still, this new field has innovation. This new field has new insights. That's why scholars are drawn towards this field. Then we come to the next slide, which tells us about eco-criticism as an inquisitive scholarly discipline. So, any number of theses we develop, or any number of projects that we are writing on eco-criticism will involve such questions. Every thesis or every project that we write must always involve an inquisitive question. It should start with a question, and if you are a fresh scholar, you would agree with me that your thesis or your project must start with a question, a very inquisitive question. So, from the eco-criticism's point of view, we also have so many questions. I have listed it out here. The first question is, what is the basis of nature representation in literature? So, the basis of nature representation in literature is not adequate right now, I would say, because the nature representation is there from the very beginning, but that nature representation is in the background. They do not address the problems that the world is facing today. That's why they have to rethink our eco-literature or eco-criticism must rethink its strategies in order to address the problems of society. That is very important now. Then comes the second question: how does land and landscape influence and work of art? So, whenever we think about a work of art, sorry, there is a mistake. It has come as N. We have to make it A. When we come to land and landscape, which is very, very important in the case of eco-criticism, we must think about their representation in work of art. If there is a bits and fits representation, a casual representation, that won't do our job, because we are here in a very sticky situation. We have reached the status of an impasse here, and we have to address ecological issues on an urgent basis. And that is why before we can we can do something, we must consider how land and landscape addresses these urgent issues facing humanity today. Then comes the third question: does the values disseminated in a text conform to ecological wisdom? So, what are the values that the text proclaims? What are the values that issues that a text addresses? Whether they are from ecological point or ecological wisdom. Mind you, knowledge and wisdom are two different things. So, wisdom is the highest level of knowledge. That's why we have deliberately thought about ecological wisdom. Then comes the metaphors. Are the metaphors of land really represent the local issues in keeping with the needs of eco-criticism? So here, this is a very vital question here. When a writer writes something, he must write about the local issues. And as far as ecological criticism is concerned, local issues are very important because many people are ignorant about what is happening around them. And even if they know about the atrocity of nature, the floods, say the floods and droughts very frequently. Immediately after the flood is over, immediately they overcome the drought, they forget about that. And you know that how storms are coming in regular intervals and they are disturbing our regular rhythm. These are the issues that we must address at the in an instant. Then, how can nature writing be justified as a genre? This is also again important. We don't have a strong genre about nature and eco-criticism today. That's why more and more writings must come and strengthen the case of the canon of eco-criticism. Then can you include land and landscape as a critical category like race, class, gender, etc.? So this is again a vital question because writing there about race, class, gender, and all the things. You know about George Floyd's problem in America and how the entire world is supporting the cause of George Floyd. But when we have problems regarding ecology, regarding environmental crisis, there, even if so many recommendations are made internationally, and you know about Earth Summit, you know about Environmental Day, all these things, but in practice, we don't materialize those things. This is only a pen and paper achievement as far as the ecology is concerned. That's why we have to think more about it. Then, do men and women treat nature in the same manner? This is again an important question that we are all aware about. Aware of. How does literature explore man-nature dichotomy? Again, this is important question. This is an important question, and we have eco-criticism in the second part of the analysis. Then, can literary studies offer comparative picture of wilderness with the change of time? and how can literary studies affect us in science of ecology, and are interdisciplinary studies of eco-criticism possible? So all the things are very important right now, and any scholar who is opting for eco-criticism as a discipline must concentrate on these questions, and in the process of writing his or her thesis, she or he should explore these areas. Then different modes of criticism as a discipline. Uh, I will try to skip this slide because we are running short of time, perhaps. This is important because uh, it relates to feminism or ecofeminism and eco-criticism. This is Ellen Sowalter's model of feminist criticism, which Glode Felty talks about in her introduction to eco-criticism reader. The first stage, uh, images of women, addresses the issue of women representation in canonical literature using sexist stereotypes like bitches, broads, and spinsters. It writes of distortion, which dispenses with half of the human race. How nature is represented in literature, bringing out stereotypes like Eden, Arcadia, virgin land, miasmal swamp, savage wilderness. What is the status of natural world in a text? Like in case of women or feminism, we have the role of patriarchy in denigrating their status. Similarly, in eco-criticism also by by giving some status nature as Eden, Arcadia, virgin land, mere small swamp, savage wilderness. We are really moving away from their actual needs. So that's the first stage. Then comes the second stage, which refers to women's literary tradition stage, which is very, very important and which attempts a kind of rediscovering, reissuing, and reconsidering of women's literature. So eco-criticism also tries to revive the hitherto neglected nature-oriented non-fiction. Various critical theories are drawn upon to promote eco-criticism now. So this is a very important step forward in case of eco-criticism or feminism, because they do not satisfy with the existing literature. They are attempting a kind of rewriting or rereading of the writings by women and about writings of women literature and eco-literature, for that matter, in order to redefine their present status or the need of a present crisis in order to address the need of the present crisis. Then the third theoretical phase involves the symbolic construction of sex and gender in feminism. In eco-criticism, it considers the symbolic construction of species. So this is again an important aspect, because we do not address problems directly. We use symbols here. For example, a rape scene will be addressed as water um, flowing from river or from pond or from a stream. Similarly, here when we think about symbolic construction of species, we can think about the talk between man and nature, how a tree can sympathize with nature. All the things are present here, and these are some of the important issues that must be figured out in eco-criticism and feminism, so that the issues will be addressed afresh. Then we must think about the solution to the issue of environmental crisis. Rethinking literature in relation to ecology, that is very important. And apathy, which is right now gripping environmentalism or ecology is actually not the solution here. We have to involve, and environment certainly is a solution for us. Then redrawing boundaries of eco-criticism to indulge ecological perspectives in literature. So you have to do a rethinking or redrawing the boundaries of eco-criticism. Then eco-criticism in the university curriculum. Eco-criticism must be taught as a discipline in universities, university curriculum or in college curriculum, so that we can manage, or people or scholars will come in touch with eco-criticism in a regular mode. Then for that, the two seminal texts, that Aldo Leopold's Ascent County Almanac and Edward Abbey's Desert Solitaire, are the two seminal texts of criticism that are being taught in American universities. And in India, we have Amitabh Ghosh's text, like the Great Derangement, Hungry Tide, all of these are novels by Amitabh Ghosh, and many new writers are coming out to have eco-criticism or ecological tests, and that is actually a boon for our scholars. Then eco-criticism becomes a multidisciplinary, multicultural, international field of study. So here again, we are broadening the scope of eco-criticism, and after that, we will come to analyze two really short poems rather. Actually, Nandini South's poem is very long, but I have to choose some. I will have to be selective because I think we are running short of time. Then, having analyzed some working theory of eco-criticism, let us consider its praxis. So there comes Robert Frost's poem, a popular poem for all of us, Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening. And I think we all have already read about this poem. And Frost, unlike Wordsworth, who is a worshipper of nature, observes nature from a close angle and seeks solace of his life by learning lessons of life. Now, the difference between Wordsworth and Frost is, in case of Wordsworth, nature is the guide, philosopher, and companion, everything. That's why, in a sense, Wordsworth surrenders himself before nature. But look at Frost. He takes life lessons. He learns lessons of life from this poem or from nature. And we have snow in the first stanza, frozen lake in the second stanza, and easy wind and downy lake in the third, which explore natural freedom, free from human pressures and limitations. And Frost learns life lessons from nature to fulfill his worldly promises. How nature is continuous, how nature is sincere, how nature is fearless. All these things are the lessons that Frost learns to put these things into his practical life. That's why the important third stanza comes, and the last stanza, perhaps the last stanza comes quote, "The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep." These are really, really immortal lines, and these are very, very favorite lines of our first Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru, and how they tell us about completing our works, taking solace from nature is important here. And whereas Wordsworth gives into nature, Frost makes use of nature to enrich his life. So this is a very, very short discussion about Robert Frost's poem and how ecology or how nature helps the poet to grow as an individual or as a poet is important here. Now we will come to Nandini's house Sita, and it will be read from the ecofeminism point of view. Penned as a poetic memoir of a heroine of the epic Sita, told in first-person narrative. This is from the preface of the um, poem, rather long poem in 25 cantos, Sita. Here, Sahu uses Sita as a metaphor for presenting post-colonial women against patriarchal setup. So this is very important here. Sahu moves away from the traditional patriarchal setup, where Sita is a tolerant heroine or a tolerant model. She obeys her husband Rama and goes with her and with him to the forest for 14 years. So all these things are not there in this poem. Her protagonist seeks to subvert the epic from the point of view of being gendered by patriarchy. So, first person narrative helps the ecofeminist agenda well when the poetic persona proclaims the Sita-ness of every woman. Assimilation of various role models appears to be key here. A quixotic presentiment of divines and humans. There is a mixture of divines and humans here. How human qualities are presented in divine entities, and how divine entities are being presented from the point of view of human needs are very important here. Then it comprises marginal, sacred, self-effacing, profane, self-willed, and beautiful women armed with knowledge and power. So this is very interesting here. In the epic, Sita is a quite tolerant, but here in Nandini's poem, Sita is very aggressive. Sita is every woman. Sita is very important here because she, like anything else, needs everything like an ordinary woman. That is very important here. She is not an embodiment of sacrifice. Then ecofeminist politics, space-time boundary concentrated. Here we don't have a space-time boundary in the poem. Then deification brings up purity pollution debate, how Sita is being reduced to this purity pollution debate in the epic, the Ramayana. We are well aware about that. But this long poem in 25 cantos, the poem takes up issues of identity and the center-periphery dichotomy. And here, South Sita doesn't want to be relegated to the periphery. She assumes the central place here. She says, quote, call you what you may, Sita Janki Vaidehi Rama. She is women. She is every woman. The propagated, interpolated role model. Now, there may be so many forms, so many models, so many varieties, but she is every woman. She represents every woman. She addresses the issues of women in general. And that is very important here. Sahu Susita pursues power corridors, household chores, state roaming, call center attending women, single mothers entangled in legal battles, and acceptance of children also matter here. So these various roles of women in modern times has been or have been the star attraction in the poem, the Sita by Nandini Sahu. Instead of romantic demagoguery, She possesses Pegasus resilience. She is the heroine here to address all the problems faced by women in this society. She is not just the taken for granted women that we have already seen in the epic. She calls her the original ecofeminist. Come back, quote, come back, she has from the segments of Mother Earth to live in me, in you, the mass consciousness of the universe. Sorry for certain typological mistakes because it was prepared in a hurry. So here what we come to know about is the everydayness of women and like a pilgrim's progress here. Sita is every woman here, like every man is the character in the pilgrim's progress. Here also we have Sita representing every woman in the society. Then comes to the ecofeministic assertions, patriarchal covering. Sitaya Charitam Mahat. This is a patriarchal address which has been deliberately flouted by the person. I am, quote, I am utterly and unquestioningly in love. I am the resolute and acquiescent, enthralling wife of Lord Rama. She is not a symbol of sacrifice here. She is very much the flesh and body avatar of Sita here in Nandini Sahu's poem. Then the epithet Maryada Purushottam, which actually goes with Rama. And this image has been flouted by desiring Sitaness that Sahu propagates. Concept of Ramarajya is a hallowed chauvinistic utopia for her now. Her bold assertions are important. Quote, I am speaking my words now lying bereaved on the lap of my mother, Vasundhara, the mother earth. Your memories are sinking deep within the mind's courier. There a bride burning, here a girl child is doomed, anon, a female ferticide there, when I cannot see myself as different from the concert of the entire womanhood. So here, what we come to know is that the Sitaness is found in every woman. The concept of Ramarajya is a hallowed concept. A patriarchal setup, a utopia where you can have ideologies, but we don't have any practical reality there. Or in practice, utopia face it's there, beautiful from a distance. But when you look, when you go nearer to that, it looks very ugly. So this is Nandini Sahu for us. Then we have ecofeminist agenda continued. The contemporaneity of Sita of Nandini Sahu. So women of substance like Ahalya, Anusuya, Savitri, Mandodari, Sulochana, Sita, Draupadi, Kunti, and Nirbhaya. We know about that Nirbhaya's case. All interrogate the patriarchal justice delivery system. Sita questions, quote, can the grace of a woman redeem only with the touch of a man? And can the grace of a woman wane only with the fraudulent touch of a man? Unquote. So here, Sita actually asserts a type of individuality here. Her identity must be separated from the identity of a man, must be separated from a man, so that she can assert her individual roles and she can live a life of her own. Sita asserts the role of quote compassionate mother, self-assertive wife, dutiful daughter, women on a special pedestal, sans all intellectual slavery. This is my feminine moral. So this is the role model of Sita that Sahu proposes. She might be a compassionate mother, self-assertive wife, a dutiful daughter, women in a special place, women in a very important position, and which is free from all intellectual slavery, all patriarchal domination, and this kind of feminine moral or femininity is asserted by Sahu. Then comes to the conclusion. Then I come to the conclusion. When every theory has its saturation point or exhausted, criticism, eco-criticism comes into the scene, attempting a redefining of quote literary text with reference to the interaction between human activity and the vast range of natural or non-human phenomena, which views upon experience encompassing amongst many things, issues concerning fauna, flora, landscape, environment, and weather, unquote. And the flip side is COVID-19 provided humanity an access to cleaner ecology, but one is a temporary pandemic and the other a permanent one. So a lot of rethinking in the conclusion itself. And as Madam Mugli has rightly said, we have to live, you have to adapt to the policy of live and let live. And with that, I conclude my lecture, and I would be glad if some questions. I am sure there will be so many questions here, and I now look forward to getting responses from the participants. Thank you.
So thank you, sir. That was an
Thank you.
informative and insightful session, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
And sir, I have a question.
Yeah.
Can you tell me what is the role of literature in environmental awareness?
Actually, thank you for the question. We've been discussing those things right now. If you have listened to my lecture, you will be agree with me that the literature that we have been reading now has been a problem for us. Literature didn't take environmental issues in an active mode. So when we are facing environment, when we are facing environmental crisis, when we are facing climate change, when we are facing problems of impasse here, literature must come forward to just address these issues. Not that we are having a bits and bits analysis of reference to nature and environment here and there. To look at the Great Rearrangement by Amitabh Ghosh. If you have read this novel, it's not a novel proper. It's a very short book, maybe a novel or something like that. It tells us about how the practical problems that Ghosh has faced gives you the access to environmental problems. So to my mind, this kind of writing, this kind of books should come forward to make us aware about some things or the problems of environment that we are facing today.
Well explained. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Well explained, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Over to Mrs. Asha Devi to propose the vote of thanks.
Good afternoon, all. Gratitude is a memory of the heart. I, Mrs. M. Asha Devi, Assistant Professor of English, feel honored to propose the vote of thanks on behalf of the department. I express my wholehearted gratitude to our management, Principal Dr. V. Nakachodi and Vice Principal Dr. N. Sujata for their consistent support. I am indebted to our resource person, Dr. Gagana Bihari Purohit, Associate Professor of English, for his lucid presentation on the topic, The Importance of Eco-Criticism in Literature. I thank our head, Ms. K. Mukil, for her indomitable spirit in organizing this national webinar. I would also thank Mr. Balaji, our PRO, who has rendered a technical support to organize this national webinar. Let me thank all the participants across the world nation who have made this webinar a grand success. Thank you.
Thank you.